Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Compact Everyday Carry and Gadgets. And today we're going to be talking about the top 5 mistakes every new gun owner makes. Right off the top, I have been guilty of a lot of these that I'm going to say. Now, I make this video so that if you're getting into the gun ownership game, you don't have to go through the same mistakes that I went through. But like always, sometimes we learn through our mistakes. So if you're making this mistake or if you're going to make it, hey, at least you're going to learn from it and then move forward to bigger and better things. But in no particular order, let's start off with buying a gun without trying it out. Now, this is one of the ones that I am guilty of, and I was guilty of it with the Canik Mete MC9 Prime. Now, I have no regrets with the purchase of this firearm, but Canik did an amazing job with the promotions of this gun. They got it out to a lot of YouTubers, and the hype was real, but the hype was out there, and there was a bunch of videos out all at once, and everybody was raving about how amazing the gun was, how great the trigger is. And I would go out to the stores, and it was always sold out. The one time I found it, I was already locked in my head. I'm buying it. I didn't even go out to the range. I didn't rent it out in the range to try it out. Of course, yes, I held it in my hands. I liked the way it felt, but I didn't shoot it. I just felt it in my hands, and I knew that it was always selling out. So I was like, if I don't get it now, I'm probably not going to get it. And sometimes we fall under that trap where we're like, if we don't buy it now, we probably won't see it again. So let me just pull the trigger and get it. And that's what I did with the Canik Mete MC9 Prime. Now, luckily, it has been an awesome firearm, and it is a great firearm. Canik also is a great brand. And the hype that they were going around with that trigger, the hype is real. It's very real. And of course, the gun itself just comes fully decked out. Looks amazing from top to bottom. But yeah, it was a mistake that I shouldn't. I mean, thank God it wasn't a mistake, but it was something I shouldn't have done. And it happens to a lot of us where we just watch videos. Guilty of it, like I said, even some of my videos where I might love a gun and I talk so highly about it that you go out and purchase it without really doing your due diligence and going out, trying it out. Like I said, rent it in the gun range, try it out for yourself. Don't just go based off of the hype. Always check it out. Number two, starting to EDC a firearm without training. Now, this one is a dangerous one because the number one rule when you everyday carry a firearm is responsibility. Be very responsible, and going out and just starting to everyday carry without no proper training is actually irresponsible and a big no-no if you ask me, just because a firearm is the same way it could protect us, it could also harm us. It could hurt us really bad, especially if you're carrying appendix. You know where that thing is aiming, and it's super dangerous. So if you're going to begin to everyday carry, make sure you get the proper training. Don't be cheap about it. I know it's hard sometimes out there with the economy, but trust me, this is something that will pay off in the long run, and it will also save your life and the lives of those around you, and protect those around you that might be innocent, that there's no negligence with the firearm that you decide to carry. Make sure you get proper training, take classes, study videos online. There's a bunch of great instructors out there teaching you how to everyday carry the right way and how to do it responsibly. So yeah, that was number two. Number three, buying a cheap or super expensive gun to start. I wasn't guilty of this one, but this one is very common because sometimes when you get into wanting to get into the whole gun ownership thing, either you want to jump right into the big league and get a staccato, get a $2,000 firearm, a Zev, one of those expensive higher tier firearms, and just go all out, and then realize like, darn, I could have gotten something way cheaper that maybe even shoots better, maybe feels better, and it still gets the job done. And you realize that that super expensive firearm is probably not good or realistic to carry for everyday carry. So don't make that mistake. And as well, sometimes we go into it and we don't want to spend a lot of money. Maybe our budget isn't too big, and we decide we want to get the cheapest gun, and then we realize like, darn, this gun has a bunch of malfunctions, a bunch of misfires. It's not reliable. Yes, there is unicorns out there where you could get a very good priced firearm and it'll be very reliable. For example, here I got the DB9 Gen 4. before this generation, previous generations were having a lot of bad reviews. This one has been very consistent and very reliable for me. And this is a cheap gun that I would say, okay, you could go out and get it, and you might get lucky and get a firearm that you can actually trust and carry for every day. But if you could just save a little bit more money, just a little, one of the brands I love the most, and that's because they're reliable. They've been in the game for a very long time, and everybody that's in the gun game, whether you love them or hate them, you gotta say you could trust them, and that's a Smith & Wesson uh, shield. The Smith & Wesson shields, for me, are perfect for everyday carry, and I definitely believe they are priced correctly. So if you want to get into the game with something that is gonna last you a lifetime, and you could carry it on a daily and feel confident and know that you're gonna be protected because the gun will respond and will perform the way it's supposed to, then look no further. Go for a Shield Plus. These guns are great. Now this one was one of my first firearms, one of the first everyday carry firearms that I rocked with. Until this day, this gun has been 100% reliable. And a little secret between us is that I actually got this used from a pawn shop. So I was taking a little risk getting it from a pawn shop, but nonetheless, it has been great. So I loved it so much that I went ahead and got the Shield Plus, which is the latest of the Shield lines. Well, now there's the Shield X, but for the Shield this size configuration, you can't beat it for the price, and what you get is just an amazing firearm. Just perfect. So yeah, so I would tell you, buy once so you don't gotta spend extra. You go with the cheap route, then you realize it wasn't the correct one, then you end up spending more because you have to get something better. Or you go super expensive and then realize that you gotta get something more realistic, a little more efficient for everyday carry, and then you end up buying two firearms when you could just buy one and done. If you want a one and done, look no further right here. The Shield Plus, I would tell you, is perfect. A one and done type of firearm, especially if you're not going to be the type that's want to start collecting and having a bunch of firearms. You just want one for protection. That's all. You're not going to become this crazy collector. Get a Shield. Awesome firearm. Another one which is very important, and a lot of people are guilty of this one, lack of trigger discipline. Now, this is the number one thing that we must all, not just beginners, but all of us should stay on point and always on top of the game, to be disciplined with keeping that finger away from the trigger. Very easy, especially when you're new in the game, when you first get that first firearm and you want to just start looking at yourself in the mirror, you want to ride around your car holding your firearm. You got to remember to keep that finger away from that trigger. Don't have it nowhere near that trigger. Like I said, it's very easy to want to be looking at yourself in the mirror, and even while you're driving, and you want to be looking at it and turning it around and just feeling your finger through that trigger guard. Please don't do that. Trigger discipline. There's videos out there. You could check them out for yourselves online. Even instructors, people that have been teaching, training, making the mistake of putting their finger on the trigger and the gun goes off unintentionally. And there's even videos of people getting hurt themselves because of not having the trigger discipline. Because sometimes you feel so confident that you know what you're doing, and let's just say you never really carry one in the head, so you're always thinking there's never one in the head, and one day there might be one chambered, and you got your finger on the trigger, and bam, then there's a big mistake. So trigger discipline. That's one of the number one rules if you're getting new into firearms that I would recommend, is practice on not having your finger on the trigger. So trigger discipline, super important. This one could be controversial, so I don't know how you guys would feel about it. I know me personally, I make sure that I don't do this, and that is not carrying a round in the chamber. Now, of course, you should definitely build up to this, and when you feel comfortable, you should always do it. But what I mean by that, if you're new to gun ownership, is carrying a weapon. Let's say if you're riding an appendix, but you don't have a round in the chamber. So in the case of an emergency, you're going to need to have the fastest hands in the world to pull out your firearm, rack the firearm, and then aim it at the target. Good luck trying to do all of that on time and faster than the person threatening your life. One, you're going to have adrenaline that could backfire on you. And like I said, if they got one up on you, I don't think you're going to have time to rack around in the chamber. So, like I said, this is something you're going to eventually build up to. This is going to take practice. This is going to help you build confidence so that you can feel safe and you can start to trust the firearm and trust the holster that you get. So it's also very important to buy the proper holster, a holster that will stand the test of time, that is good quality, is not going to be too bendy, too skinny, too thin, and just something that's proper. That's also something like buying a cheap gun. Just buy a good one right off rip and avoid having to buy 2 or 3 different holsters. Just get a good one and get that out the way. But yeah, not carrying with one in the chamber for me is a no-no. I have to have one in the chamber, in the round, as I everyday carry. Now, if you have a firearm that has a safety, that's a whole nother decision you could make. I have some that have safeties, but most of my everyday carries don't have a safety on it. So in the case of an emergency, it is always ready to go. All I got to do is just pull it out and present it, and it's ready to go. But that's it for now, guys. Those are the top 5 mistakes every new gun owners make, and they should definitely avoid these mistakes. I am going to try to turn this into a series. So these were the first 5. Comment down below which one should make the next video. Comment which ones were you guilty of doing. And yeah, let's spread awareness. But yeah, that's it for now, guys. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hype up the video. But that's it for now, guys. Compact, everyday carry, and gadgets. I'm out of here, guys. God bless.